Let's hear from heaven today by reading the scriptures. We're continuing with Jesus' Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 7, looking at verses 13 and 14, the narrow and wide gates. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and the broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Now, in these two verses, Jesus is telling us in no uncertain terms that the path to heaven is a narrow journey and that the pathway of the world is rife with choices that lead to destruction. Now, if you allow me to give you three passages from the Old Testament that might help you to understand the importance of the choice of which direction you're going to go in. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19, Moses says this to the people of Israel. This day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you, and I have set before you life and death, blessing and curses. Now choose life so that you and your children will live. And then in Joshua chapter 24, verse 14, Joshua says this to the people of Israel. Choose this day whom you will serve, whether it be the gods that your fathers served. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And then in 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 21, the prophet Elijah says this before the people of Israel. How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him. Now, Baal, by the way, was a pagan god, and he didn't exist. We're given two choices, and we must make one. Do you want to take the easy way, the lazy way that leads to death and destruction and separation from God? Or do you want to take the hard way, the narrow way that leads to everlasting life with God for all eternity in heaven? Whichever choice you make does not apply just to your eternal destiny. It also applies to how you're going to live your life here on earth until you meet your destiny. Now, Jesus says this in John chapter 14, verse 6. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you want to take the path that leads to life, you must go through Jesus Christ. The choice is yours, and I hope you choose wisely.